Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Letsvette. I'm Brandon, and as always, we are here at C8 Corvette in Atlantic City. Got some good content for you today, but before we get into it, a couple housekeeping things. One, notice that about 89% of my viewers on my last video do not subscribe, so if I can beg you, plead with you, and thank you in advance for hitting that subscribe button, that'll help me keep creating more Corvette content for you guys. Go ahead and hit that now. In addition to that, if you notice that A, I might be talking a little funny, and B, I might look like I got punched in the face, that's because I just had my wisdom teeth out 2 days ago. So sorry if that's a little disrupted, but I'm going to do the best that I can. Now, with that being said, today we are going to be talking about a very popular topic in my world, and that is front lift. The technical term is front end adjustable height with memory. But it's a very polarizing option. A lot of people, especially first-time Corvette buyers, are always asking, do I really need it? I'm not going to give you a yes or no, but I'm going to give you the tools today to answer that question for yourself and figure out whether or not that's an option that you actually need. Now, we're going to be going over a few things for it, but I've kind of organized our showroom right now to give you a little bit of the difference between a few different generations of Corvettes. So I know a lot of C8 owners are coming off of a C6 or a C7, in some cases a C5. So I've got in order a C5 Z06, a C6 Grand Sport, a very special C7 ZR1, a C8 Z06, and a C8 Stingray. That way we can cover them all in succession and figure out how they stack up with one another. Now, first question. The option code is E60 and the price point is $25.95. So if you're wondering how much it's going to cost you in the build of a new car, that's exactly what it's going to be, $25.95, regardless of which model it's in, whether it's a Stingray, a Z06, or an E-Ray. All right, so we will be going over how to program it, how to use it, but first off, I want to talk about some of the reasons you may or may not want it. One of the biggest questions when people come in to build, especially if they're on their first C8 Corvette, is, do I really need it? And there are a couple reasons yes, and there are a couple reasons no. The first thing I always go to is your driveway. That's going to be the biggest determining factor of where you park. I myself have an incredibly steep driveway, so if and when the time comes for me to buy a C8, I am absolutely going to need that front end lift. It's going to raise the front end 2 inches, so it's going to give you better ground clearance there. But the biggest question is your driveway, and you can answer that better than I can. You know your driveway better than I do, but if you have a particularly steep driveway, or you have a big curb to get up, kind of like our parking situation here in Atlantic City, because of the flood zones, we usually have a pretty steep incline to get into our parking lots here. So if that's a situation that you find yourself in, I definitely recommend front end lift. In addition to that, on your daily commute, if you encounter a lot of speed bumps, that you can program that location for to automatically raise, if that's something you want to be mindful of, that's a solid move. In addition to that, another big question that a lot of people don't necessarily consider right away is resale value. You may not need the front end lift, but if you have the perfect built Corvette and you have a buyer who has a steep driveway or encounters a lot of speed bumps, you might have the exact build, and then they go, but I really need the front end lift. If you're, looking to keep the car for 20 years and drive it until it dies and whatever, maybe not as big of a consideration. But for that resale value, if you're like many of my buyers who are going to be in it for a year or two and then turn it to a newer model, that's also something to keep in mind. And then lastly, kind of a polarizing option, but for those of you who are tracking your car, it can go one of 2 ways, in that I've had people who say, hey, I'm tracking the car, it's going to be a performance car, I don't want any added weight whatsoever, I don't want any unnecessary mechanical effects, so keep the front end lift off of there. Now, on the other hand, I've had people very adamant, especially those with ground effects, saying, yes, I will be tracking the car, but I need a way to get it onto my trailer without damaging or scraping it. So that's also something to consider as well, depending on your trailer loading situations. If you're using boards, ramps, how long of runway you need to load that might be something to consider. And then lastly, one of the things that a lot of people don't necessarily think of off the bat, but is very important. I'm gonna show you on this one right here. This is a beautiful C8 Z06. I'll go over the build in a little bit. I absolutely love this car. It is currently available, but it has these exposed carbon fiber ground effects. And unlike a Stingray, of course you can get the ground effects on a Stingray, but unlike the standard build of a Stingray, these ground effects are going to be A, a lot more expensive, and B, a lot easier to break and damage. So especially if you're gonna have carbon fiber ground effects on your Stingray, E-Ray, or Z06, that is an area that I strongly recommend front lift for, just because it's one of those things that is better to have and not need rather than need and not have. Now, alternatively, one of the reasons you might decide against front end lift is if you plan on modifying the suspension. It is possible to do aftermarket modifications of coilovers or suspension with the front end lift. However, it is a lot more difficult. I talked with my service department about it yesterday. They do not recommend it because there's an entire hydraulic system that uses brake fluid to incorporate that front end lift. So if you are specifically planning to do that, tread lightly because it is going to complicate things quite a bit. Now, another thing to keep in mind if you are building from scratch or combing through our available stock units, if you would like front end lift, it requires at least a 2LZ or 2LT build. It is not available on a 1LT or 1LZ. So if you're looking for more of a stripped down model, just keep that in mind. That is going to be the minimum requirement for front lift. So guys, just so you know, for those of you who are unfamiliar or uninitiated, the front end lift that we're talking about is only currently available in the C8 generation. It was not available in the C5, C6, C7, or previous generations. I'm imagining it's something that they're going to keep trending forward, moving towards the C9, but that's not coming out for a few years at least. So we'll figure it out as we go, but just keep in mind, if you're looking at a pre-owned previous generation, that is not going to be a thing. The front lift is for the C8 only. All right guys, so I wanted to cover the ground clearance a little bit in some previous Corvette models, as well as kind of touch on some available units. Now, this one here is a C5. This is, I believe, currently the oldest Corvette model we have on the lot. This is a 2004 very special commemorative edition Z06, super low mileage. I believe it's right around 9,000. On a side note, if you are interested in this, at the time of this recording, February 19th, 2025, it is currently available for sale. I believe we have it listed at $42,900. With that being said, a lot of previous owners, previous generational owners will notice that the C8 ground clearance is surprisingly better despite its exotic design. Now on this one, you will notice the ground clearance here on the front end of the bumper is actually a little higher than what would theoretically be scraping the ground. These are these plastic air dams. They are easily replaceable, but on this C5 right here, I believe this is about 3.5 inches from the ground. Now right here we have a C6 Grand Sport, beautifully built car. This one has since been sold. It is not available for purchase. I also believe this has aftermarket suspension modification, so this rides a little bit lower than they normally would, but if you see how low it is right here on this front splitter, significantly lower than you're going to see on the C8, whether that be a Z06, an E-Ray, or a Stingray. Now, moving over to here, we're going to touch on this one in another video a little bit more in depth. However, this is a very, very special C7 ZR1 manual that I was fortunate enough to just sell 2 days ago. But you will notice the ground clearance here, a little bit modified in that it's got these carbon fiber ground effects on it. But even with those, I believe it's right around 3.5 inches. But still less than the C8. However, another example of carbon fiber ground effects that you're going to want to take really, really good care of. This one is on its way out the door shortly. All right, guys, now here is a C8 Stingray. You're gonna see here, this has the plastic front splitter on it. This is gonna be both part of the Z51 package, as well as if you option it with a TVS low profile spoiler and front splitter. The good news about these, and I'll be completely candid with you, just about everybody ends up scraping these at some point. And that's not a big deal at all because A, they're plastic, they're semi-durable, and they're very easily replaceable for a few $100s. So I wouldn't worry as much about scraping it, just because it always happens at some point. And it's gonna have a little bit more flex to it because it's plastic. However, keep in mind if you get a Stingray that is not optioned with either Z51 or TVS low profile spoiler and front splitter, you're gonna have even more ground clearance here because you'll be missing a good inch, inch and a half, and it'll be riding higher. Those are the easiest ones for us to maneuver around the lot. So keep in mind, if you're looking for a stock unit or you're looking to build, that's gonna give you the most clearance. Now, on a side note, again, at the time of this recording, February 19th, 2025, I still have 5 of these units available. These are the last of our 2024s, still brand new. I think I have 5 left if I remember correctly. They're all gonna be white with a Twilight Intention blue dipped interior. They're currently 15% off. They are our deepest discounts right now. So if you're interested in one of those, feel free to reach out to me. We can go over that. Now, next to that, we have one of my favorite Z06s on the lot. This one is also currently available. It is a 3LZ convertible Z06 with carbon fiber aero. It's not a true Z07 in that it doesn't have the carbon ceramic brakes, but it does have the exposed carbon fiber aero, and that is one of the reasons I wanted to go over this car. As I mentioned previously, these ground effects, not only the front splitter, but the dive planes as well, are fairly pricey options, and they are an investment absolutely worth protecting. If you're going to be ordering a Z06 or an E-Ray with the carbon fiber ground effects, I would absolutely recommend that front lift. Now, granted, you do still have some pretty good ground clearance here, but because they stick out further, they are susceptible to a little bit more damage. So definitely strongly recommend the front lift for those. All right, guys, so now we're gonna go over the actual function of the front end lift itself. Now, you can manually press the button, the front end lift button, to engage the front end coming up. This can only be done under 25 miles an hour. It can be done while stationary or while moving. Keep in mind, once you hit 25 miles an hour, the car is gonna automatically lower for aerodynamic purposes. So essentially, there's 2 ways to put it up and 2 ways to put it down. Manually with the button, up and down, or automatically if you have programmed the location. If you've programmed the location, which I'm gonna go over how to do, then the car will automatically raise as you're entering the vicinity that you program it for, as long as you are traveling under 25 miles an hour, and then it will automatically lower once you hit 25 miles an hour, so you don't have to remember to actually put it down. Now, when you wanna manually raise it or program it, you're gonna press the middle button, and you'll see on the dashboard, it's gonna say vehicle raising. It's also going to say press left to remember or check to dismiss. If you would like to program that as a location to automatically remember in the future, just hit the left arrow button on your directional pad on your steering wheel. That's going to program it into the memory by GPS, and anytime you're approaching that location under 25 miles an hour, the vehicle will automatically raise. Now, you can program up to 1,000 locations by GPS. I've sold quite a few Corvettes now, and I have yet to meet anybody who has used all 1,000 locations. So I wouldn't worry about having to make space or having to deprogram anything, but that is available if you need it. All right, guys, I wanted to very quickly outline the options and the builds of the 3 out of the 5 units available. I know we went over 5 cars today very briefly. 3 of them are currently available for purchase as of today. Like I said, I've got 5 of these identically built 2024 brand new 3LT coupes. These were actually built to be performance cars that we were going to send away to an aftermarket performance modification company. They withdrew their purchase on them, so we still have them available. They are all very well optioned. All 5 of them are Arctic white exterior with a twilight intention blue dipped interior. They're all going to have the standard 5 open spoke silver painted wheels, and they are all very well optioned with Z51 front end lift and magnetic ride. The MSRP on them is $94,575. But they are all 15% off. They are the last of our remaining 2024s, which means they have a sale price of $80,389. That is over $14,000 in discounts right there. They are available. Feel free to reach out to me directly for those. This is also one of my absolute favorite built Z06s on the lot. As I mentioned, it is a 3LZ convertible. Very well optioned with front end lift and exposed carbon fiber aero. We have an MSRP of $155,105. I'll go through the options real quick. It's going to have the visible carbon fiber aero, that is the front end splitter, the dive planes, the side skirts, and that beautiful high wing in exposed carbon fiber. Also has the front lift adjustable height with memory, carbon flash painted roof and nacelles. It's got these beautiful stripes that I love. I'm a big fan lately of builds with these carbon flash stripes edged in a particular color that matches the interior. This has that new habanero interior for 2025. We've got the gloss black forged wheels, the new 10 spokes, and stealth interior trim. What else do we have here? Black exhaust tips and carbon flash metallic painted spoiler and outside mirrors, although the spoiler is going to be voided because we have the high wing on there. If you are interested in this one, please feel free to reach out to me. The stock number is going to be S5601901. Would love to be the one to sell this beautifully built Z06. And then lastly, guys, I don't know how long this one's going to be here. It is a fresh trade. This is a 2004 commemorative edition Z06 in Le Mans Blue. This has 9349 on the odometer, just a little over 9,000 miles. This is a 6-speed manual, and it is currently available for $42,900. If you're interested in this one, feel free to reach out to me. Stock number is going to be C20043660. Feel free to reach out to me, and we can go over details on that one. All right, guys, we are just about wrapped up for today's episode, but I wanted to let you know we're closing in on another big milestone for the channel, which is going to be 5,000 subscribers. You guys sprinted towards 1,000. Really appreciate that. Really appreciate all the likes, subscribes, especially the commenting. You guys have been very interactive and letting me know what you want to see in the future. So when we hit 5,000 subscribers, we'll be doing another product giveaway. So if that's something you want to see, go ahead and click that subscribe button now, and we'll move towards that. All right, guys, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Letsvette. As always, I'm Brandon, and if you are interested in buying a new or pre-owned Corvette, if you're looking to get ceramic coating, PPF, accessories, anything, that is how I make my living, and that is how I can keep bringing you fresh, new Corvette content on YouTube. Please feel free to reach out to me with questions, concerns, buying inquiries. You can reach me on my email at bnewberger@siokaauto.com, or as always, the best way to get in contact with me is right on my cell phone. You can reach me at 856-534-4006. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.